This thing just got set on the floor and I am excited. So this is a Bobcat MT50, and so this can lift, I think it's rated for 500 pounds. I think it's around 20 horsepower. Nice little, what is that, a 3-banger? Yep. These things seem to be pretty well liked. Has quite a bit of lift for the size of machine it is. It weighs around 2,500 pounds. Apparently this thing ran just fine. Like there was nothing wrong with it. The only issue was there was a hydraulic leak. He tore into some of the controls up here, was digging down to try and fix that leak. I'm not sure what exactly it was. Probably should have got a little bit more background off of him, but he had taken all the control levers off. He's been down inside this thing trying to fix the leak and gave up. He did drop off this pile of parts. We will see what all I get into here. Control standpoint, this might be a little bit of a piece together, but I'm sure with a little bit of love, old Bobcat is gonna be quite the machine. It's been a few months since I picked up the Bobcat. As you can tell, not much progress has happened on it. I think it's worth trying to put all the lines back on, try and put this thing back together enough to start up the engine, see if anything works, anything runs. That would give me a whole lot more motivation to try and get the rest of it. The last person who tore into this left a lot of hydraulic lines disconnected. I don't know if they were planning on trying to get into this valve block right here, but a lot of the hydraulic lines to that manifold pretty much are disconnected, while on the other hand, the right side manifold looks pretty good. They did disconnect a bunch of lines over here. I'm not sure why. There's a control valve they took off that goes right here. I'm just gonna start putting everything back on, tighten it up. This hopefully shouldn't take too long. Hydraulic cleanliness is kind of going out the window here. Really should have got a pressure wash before this thing went apart, but we're here now. You can see right here, this one got bent. This thing needs to go back and twist. We're finally there. I have the last hose to finally hook up before I can go put fluid into this and fire up the engine. I think I'm ready to run it and see if this thing will leak and explode oil all over the place, or if we might be able to have a nice little weep and actually utilize this machine like it's intended. The guy before me was nice enough to put decent caps on some of the hose fittings, so trying to keep contamination down is pretty important for hydraulic systems. Ooh, this line is gonna be a fighter. Should probably find the correct standard wrench to use on these. 24 is a little sloppy. That's all those lines. I need to hook up the fuel filter still, put the battery in. We got our fuel filter mounted up here. I'm gonna go through and swap out the filter. They gave me a new one. It's a little dented, but I think it's still better than, you know, the old one that's on there. Bone dry. So I got a little bit of diesel here. All right, I'm gonna check the oil in the engine, gonna push fuel through here, through the filter, make sure that we have it mostly bled out there. I also need to check and see how much oil is in our hydraulic reservoir. I'm not sure if there's a dipstick somewhere that I haven't found yet. Pulled the fuel cap off though, and I think I probably should order a new one of these. The plastics is definitely seen better days. I pulled it open and chunks started coming off, so we're just gonna break this out of here now, and good luck. If you're in a rollover, you might have diesel all over the place. There's a little vent hole in this cap. I can blow a little bit of pressurized air into that, which will pressurize the fuel tank, which will then push fuel down through the filter and out the line at the other side. Good luck, little diesel. That was not the right side. Looks like we're good on engine oil. Next up, we're gonna try putting the wire harness back on. Thankfully, a lot of these older wires have stayed nice and rigid. That's gonna give me maybe a chance to get these all back on correctly. You can almost see how nicely they lay in. Temperature, voltmeter, ignition, and then hour meter over here. All right, now I'll try and figure out the key switch. It's gonna take me a minute. Okay. $8,500 is accessories, and 8210 is stop. Then I think these go to battery. I think we got it figured out, folks. That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. We found the oil level gauge for the hydraulic tank. It is definitely too low, so I'm gonna start adding some hydraulic oil. The spec on the internet says 5 gallons, and so we'll start dumping some in until we get something going. One gallon. We're gonna see how many gallons of oil we can end up on the floor under this when we find the eventual leak. We are above full now. Alrighty, that's a good sign. 2 gallons. The only thing left to do at this point is install a battery and fire it up. All right, we're on the negative post. That's interesting. So what I've come up with so far is on this post, there's this red wire and this white and red wire. This white and red wire supplies power to the ignition. This red one I assumed was also part of the battery, especially since there's like an inline fuse. Somebody hacked this together. If I go and trace this wire, it goes down across the loom, drops down the machine on that side, drops behind the radiator, goes through what essentially is a firewall, down there, and then it comes out over here. You can see it wraps around and then is on the starter. So what I'm guessing is whatever ignition wire was originally there, it wasn't working, and they just ran a new wire. So whenever I wired this guy up, I need to move that wire over to ignition. All right, round 2. Let's see if it arcs again. Holy crap, it doesn't go off now. Yay. I'm ready to try this thing out. It's never ran ever before here. I got a catch pan right here in case oil starts spraying out. I can turn it off, slide that under, try and contain it. I got some oil dry in a bucket right there. I think I'm ready to try this. Oh yeah, I forgot. I need the throttle. That would be good. I don't know if it's full throttle or not. It's working. Guys, I am so excited right now. This thing actually works. All the functions work, everything else works. I am super excited. I think at this point, I really want to take it outside, go try and do something with it. Unfortunately, it's dark out, so I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow. It's been a good day. I'm excited. So I definitely overfilled the hydraulics on this machine. I got my safety wedges in place underneath the lift arms. I'm going to siphon some oil out of that tank and just put it back in the jug that they came out of. And yeah, we are pretty oily down there, and it's also soaked out across the floor. Let's go pressure wash the Bobcat. So as I'm driving, this thing is rocking back and forth within the control panel and really making it hard to operate. There are supposed to be bolts and spacers that go between that hole and the hole up there to keep this thing pretty much rigid. Those are missing. This thing is pretty much riding on all the hard lines underneath here, and it's slowly just bending everything down, which is not a good thing at all. Let's get a few bolts in there just to keep this held up and in position before this thing shakes itself to pieces. All right, it's not perfect, but things don't move as much. We'll try that again. One of the things I noticed when I was driving around is the drive levers here. The left one works as I'd expect. You push forward, it goes forward, you pull back, it goes back, and it seems like all the travel is correct. The right lever, on the other hand, it seems like it's bent forward. And you can kind of see that from above, and what that means is forward travel is limited compared to reverse. Reverse, you go as fast as I think you normally should, but on forward, it's dead stopping earlier. One of the things that I think we can do here is pop this front portion off, and I think the mechanism inside there, we can check if something's bent or not. So let's pull that apart. Well, we are finding the crusties in here. Quite a bit of rust and gook. That's what happens when the rubber boot up here kind of broke off. So definitely should get a new rubber boot, but it still should be relatively fine. These are your stops for max travel both forward and backwards. They help you set the left track to the right track so that as you go forward and backwards, you go the same speed. Well, that explains it. The lever, if you can see here, Looks like somebody had cut it and re-welded it very, very poorly. That sucks. All right, well, we'll have to cut that thing apart and try re-welding it straight. All the little things you find. Check it out, just got back from Justin's house. He's able to bend this back into straight, run it over with the TIG welder, make sure that we're back to being welded. Looks pretty good. We also hit this with the sandblaster, knocked out all the rust on the inside, cleaned it up overall. I'm gonna go hit both of these with a little bit of paint, try and make sure they don't rust again. We have our control lever back, put back together. I'll have to keep looking around to see if I can find a new boot. I'll put a little bit of oil in here just to keep everything lubricated for now, and hopefully we'll have actual forward and back on both tracks now. Much better. I think I want to drive this thing outside, maybe give it through its paces, try out the new adjusted track lever. Should be working pretty good. Maybe we even slap the bucket on, push something. This thing with a bucket, it can do a little bit of damage. It's not very big, you can't push super hard, but you know, it's sure beats using a shovel. So whenever I bought the machine, the guy I bought it from said that he was in the middle of trying to fix a leak. I don't think he actually fixed it because it's pretty oily on the backside. I'll show you guys what I mean. You can see the bottom pan is pretty much full of oil. We got drips coming around everywhere. There's oil on this hydraulic line, there's oil all across this back tray. And if you look up, you can start trying to trace it, and really up in here is where the oil starts beginning to look a little bit more excessive. You can see oil puddling at the bottom of like all of those fittings, and there's actually oil between the valve slices, which is not good. What probably is happening is there's an O-ring between the valve slice that is leaking. And so in order to fix that, I need to pretty much tear this entire thing apart, So tear all this back all the way apart again and try and fix the hydraulic leak. So that kind of sucks. Not entirely unexpected, but we'll see what I can do. I don't know how long it's been since the last time I filmed anything, but we've made some progress on the Bobcat. I had my buddy Kevin over a couple nights ago. Him and I spent probably about 4 hours pretty much taking apart the entire back of the machine. As you can see here, all the control levers, all the hard hydraulic lines, those were torn apart. We have them blown across all over the floor, everything else like that. But we were successful in taking apart the control valve. The control valve is comprised of different slices, and each of these slices has a different function. So you can have different control levers built in, you can have pressure reliefs, you can have different flow controls, and also like isolation switches. And so what we did, we took apart the other control valve, and you can see all of the passages here. So you end up with pretty much 6 O-rings between each slice. These O-rings get old, they get brittle. This is a almost 25, 26-year-old machine. And as these get stiffer and stiffer and go through heat cycles, they can end up gapping in what I think ends up being kind of like a leak. This is a control valve that had a lot of issues. If you go through and look at the different slices, this one here has these, cavities, and it looks pretty clean. That is a lot different than those cavities. Look a lot different compared to this other stack, where if you look inside there, you have all this gunk kind of built up on the edges. I've actually cleaned this off a little bit. It was worse. And what that pretty much tells me is oil or something is getting in between those slices and pretty much collecting dust, dirt, grime. I'm gonna clean all these off. We're gonna replace all the inner slice O-rings. We're gonna take all the JIC straight fittings off, replace the O-rings underneath those too, and pretty much try and get this thing as leak-proof as we can before reassembly. Really, really don't want to take this back apart. I recently helped a buddy excavate a swimming pool, and as a thanks, he sent me this brand new parts washer over here. I'm excited because I'm going to be able to try it out today. All right, all those fittings are off. Let's grab some sockets to get the long shafts off here. But here it is. So that's your entire control valve spool. So these are 3 long bolts that hold together all the valve slices. Just like that. So my plan here is I'm going to just wash off these things lightly this first time, and then I need to come back through and actually clean up some of these surfaces. I want to hit it either with like a nylon brush or that carbide bit. Smooth off any hard debris on it. These things are looking pretty shiny now. I'll blast them out. So this is the pile of used O-rings out of our valve stack. These are still functioning, except some of them got so hard they no longer sealed. So we're gonna replace every single one inside this. So I have a whole new pile. It took a little bit of digging, but I found that these are roughly a 1.8 millimeter by 14 millimeter ID. And they look like they're about the same. If I hold up a new one here and an old one there, I would say we're about dead on whenever it comes to replacing them. So that's good. The new ones are definitely much more springy compared to the old ones. So I have my valve body all pretty much laid out here the way it's supposed to go. I have a little bit of oil in this can. Figured it'd be a good idea to lubricate each of the O-ring locations before I put them in. This will help them stay in place. And now we play the game of don't forget any of these. Top-down assembly should prevent us from needing to worry about our O-rings because they all should stay perfectly in place. Here we go. Hope I do have these in the correct order. Just like that. Cool. So I already went ahead, cleaned up all these JIC straight fittings that go into the valve manifold off McMaster. I just went and bought a bunch of these random packs of, I think this is what, a -6, -10 O-ring kit. So that made it pretty easy. All right, we'll go through, we'll torque all these up and move on to the next valve body. We have this valve stack rebuilt. One of the things I wanted to do was go through and actually pressure check all the O-rings that we replaced. It would really, really suck if we put this back together and ended up having another one leak just because maybe I forgot an O-ring, or maybe it was misplaced, or maybe it just is bad and needs something worked on. I don't know. I got my cap kit over here, so I'm able to block off pretty much every single one of these. And what I can do now is I can take a new cap right here, and I bought these nifty little tire valve NPT fittings. And what this will let me do is I can drill and tap into this plug, install this port, hook up an air gun, and then pressurize this valve and air test the whole thing using some like soapy water or something. And this is not a center point, but it works well enough for our purposes. We have some soapy water in a spray bottle. We have our valve here. Let's air it up and try it out. So here we can go and put, 100 PSI of air in. This chuck doesn't seal perfectly, but we do have air pressure inside there. And I hear a little hiss. We go and spray some soapy water on this, and you can see we have a leak all the way up here. So we'll hit that with a little Impactorino. Sweet. I'll go spray this thing down with more soapy water, just do a quick check, and then we'll get the other valve, and then we'll check the other valve the same way, and hopefully we can start putting it together. Yeah, this thing by itself weighs quite a bit. All right, we got a thread started. As I go and hook up these lines, the big question is which ones to put on first. You can see all of these straight fittings pointed down. I think I'm going to try and figure out what are the 3 lines pointed backwards, get those in place, and then start working from the next set to the next set and all the way back. We are making headway, almost got all the soft lines hooked up. I did run into a little bit of confusion on this valve. I had this fitting and that fitting swapped, and so I kept trying to put the hose on here, and it's obviously wouldn't fit because it's too small for the big fitting that's over here now. So now that that's good, I think I can get the rest of these on and keep chugging. This last line has been a real painful one. In order for it to actually thread on, I had to get this ratchet strap out and actually apply some side tweakage on this long line that runs all the way down to the bottom. That whole plate wasn't really attached very well whenever I was playing around with it, so I think the valves kind of sank down and moved to the side. That tweaked all the hard lines and really just makes this thing painful now. So that's the first big hard line I've needed to install. Everything else before this has been soft. Hopefully this is not a sign of things to come. I don't know if you guys have ever got to the end of a puzzle and realized you're actually missing a piece. Well, I just had one of those moments. So we have the remaining hydraulic lines right here. You can see all of them are essentially either a straight line-ish or a 90. I need a part that's a C, and so none of these match what I need over here to go from this location up to that location. And I've been staring at the book trying to, double check my work, and I'm like, and I'm racking my mind because all the parts were here, right? Like this thing was running not that long ago. And so I, searched the whole shop. I tried to figure out where this thing could be. And I think I might have finally found it. Well, what's this over here, Mr. Parts Washer? If you go and look down in the water, way up tight in this front corner is one more hydraulic line. Just chilling this whole time. Just been taking a bath. Let's finish putting this thing together. This is our last hydraulic line that needs put on. I'm actually gonna film this one because I'm excited. We are getting very, very close to having this run. There's a few soft lines that still need installed, but these have just been so painful this whole time. Thankfully, half of this is easy, half of this is gonna be hard. So this one is pretty terrible for wrench access. We'll probably end up having to use like a crow's foot with an offset or something. This one is pretty accessible. Feels like if this bar was a little bit higher, it would be a lot easier, but beggars can't be choosers. A nice thunderstorm going on outside right now. That one sounded pretty close. But not that close. Okay. Good. I don't think I'll have any wrench swing access from above here. Yeah, that's all I get. We get a flat and a flat, but I doubt we'll even get that. Nope. So I might as well go get my crow's foot. All right, that should be it. Check it out, all the lines are installed on the Bobcat. This has been a very, very long journey. I don't know, I think whenever I first started taking it apart, the second time was probably 2 months ago. I am glad that this is hopefully the end of hydraulic lines and having to change oil and things like that. Something I want to do before I actually try it out is actually replace the throttle cable. So there was a new one of these that came with the machine. All it is two bolts that kind of clamp there, and then, oh, that seems like a problem. The old knot on the end was off. How is this thing held in here? I don't think anything holds it in right now, actually. And just kind of routed it down and around. So unfortunately, I will have to steal the ends off this old one and put them on the new one. You can see we have all sorts of destruction going on with this poor throttle cable. It was time. There it goes, I hope. It's almost like it was Loctited on, but not. Must be rusty. We'll tighten that up whenever we get up there. All right, I'll just go and plug that in here. Come on, let's clip up in. There we go. So now, when we go and actuate this, that's exactly what we need it to. Now I need to just mount this guy right there, and we'll be good to go. We are so close to running. I'm running out of time tonight, but I'm gonna put the battery in real fast. I'm excited, but we're out of time, so we need to get this going. This line. We have a major leak. Where is it coming from? That is the question. Okay, if we follow the trail, we got drippage off that hydraulic line. That fitting right there on the drive motor looks like the issue. I'll see if I can tighten it up and clean this. You know it's bad when you can just turn the fitting. Someone forgot that. Whoops. Guys, I let myself down hard today. We got over here, I noticed an entire trail of oil all the way down the concrete. I'm like, that's not good. I looked a little bit harder, and we found the source of it, and it's not in a good spot. If you look way up in there, there's a fitting, and you can see the crow's foot on it. It's not tight. And when things aren't tight, they leak. And this is the wrench down here, and I have all these extensions all the way up to that crow's foot. Oh my. I'll see what I can figure out here, but gosh dang it. So this poor Bobcat had the front of it pretty much abused over its life, And I think whoever had it before was planning on painting the front and trying to tune it up. I hit it with the grinder right there. I applied some quick Rust-Oleum paint just on the front. We're gonna make it white, and it's not gonna match perfectly. It's gonna look better than just rust on the front, and so we'll hit that real fast. Look at that. Having the front painted white definitely helps. Now that the paint's done, I got a few last things I want to knock out before I'm going to say this is complete. Up on the front, the quick attach has a problem. As you're riding around, it just slops back and forth. In order to fix the slop, I just want to put some spacers in here. The way this is going to work is this is a tapered pin. It's held into the arm with this screw on the end. We'll take that out, punch the pin in, and then hopefully we'll be able to put some spacers in. I'll probably put 1 or 2 on each side. That cavity is full of grease. I went and bought some nice big 1-inch washers, nice grade 8 style. At least on this side. There we go. All right. So next up, we're going to work on the controls. There are these 2 support bars that you can install next to the hand joysticks. These allow you to rest your hands on them and have finer control without the machine bucking. So we're going to put those back on. I don't know what they hit, but this plate is supposed to be straight. So we're going to straighten that one back out. We've already done it to the first one. Put these 2 bars back on like the machine should have. Just stick it in the vise. We'll see how straight we can get it. Just by clamping down. That's doing pretty good. So we're going to loosely start this side. So it gives us some gappage to get our bars across. That's looking a whole lot better. I now need to go and work on the control valves. They're up over, or the control levers. They're up over there. We'll get those set up, and then I'll check the feel for the lengths and make sure we don't want to do any adjustments. So here's everything I got for our replacement levers. We'll put the small levers on first, and then I'll have to work on the actual drive levers. These are a little too long for what we need, but I kind of want to get a feel for where I should cut them down to. So now we have a piece of all thread. This way we can put the handle on, put that lock nut on, and then this side we can tighten up to make sure that we have it secured into the handle. Kind of help you out there. So this is your auxiliary hydraulics, and these are your upper ones. So these are slightly taller than they probably should be. With the installation of those controls, I'm ready to go try out a project with this Bobcat. I'm going to have to do some planning to figure out what exactly it is that I want to do, but I'm pretty excited to use this. This is going to be a handy machine. With the current bucket it has, I'll be able to do some nice dirt work. I would like to get some other attachments, maybe, or a post hole digger, or maybe some other attachments like a grapple. We'll see what all we get into with this machine. That's going to wrap it up for today. This project has been a long one. I started this project about 9 months ago, and it's just been a struggle ever since this machine showed up. The giant pile of parts that was laying here, the struggles of putting it all together, finding out the leaks, draining hydraulic oil, cleaning up hydraulic oil. I don't think I've ever cleaned so much oil up off this floor before I owned this machine. Right now though, it's looking pretty good. Thanks for coming along the struggle with me. We'll see what we get into on the next one. I'm Big John. Thanks for watching.